everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Gita Mary, and in this series we talk about products that are often marketed as super sustainable and great alternatives to conventional products, and we look at whether or not they are actually that much more sustainable. So in the first episode of this series we compared toothpaste tabs to regular toothpaste, so if you want to check out that video I'll link it down below. And today we're going to talk about laundry sheets. Now, I have talked about sustainable laundry routines and how to take care of your clothing and all that stuff that comes with it on this channel for a few years, but today we're going to sit down and look at some studies and look at whether or not these products are actually as sustainable as they say they are. And we're going to go over what will have the biggest impact in terms of your laundry routine so you can make the best, more sustainable choice. Anyway, let's get into it. This video is going to be mainly about the laundry sheets. However, in the last video I was so lucky to find an LCA report that compared toothpaste tabs to toothpaste. And that data simply doesn't exist for laundry sheets. At least I haven't been able to find a credible report that talks about laundry sheets and compares them on several parameters to other types of laundry detergents. So what we're going to do instead is that we're going to look at a few different studies and sort of pile everything together. We had all the luxuries last time of comprehensible data, and we simply didn't know how good we had it. So today we're going to do things a little bit differently. We'll make do with some slightly more scattered data. Firstly, we have a study from 2001. I know that's a really long time ago, so obviously have that in mind, but we're going to use this as a baseline. This is a study from the UK that compares 5 different types of detergents. They're analysed in a life cycle assessment report from cradle to grave. We love to see that. Products analysed were regular powder, powder tablets, compact liquid, and liquid unit dose systems. This LCA represents one wash with average UK habits and water infrastructure. And under this study's conditions, it was found that compact solutions, both liquid and powder, were preferable formulations, mainly due to the lower use of chemicals, resulting in benefits in aquatic toxicity, eutrophication, ozone depletion, and photochemical smog. Less pronounced benefits of compact powder and compact liquid were also observed on energy requirements and on impact categories such as acidification, human toxicity, and climate change. But a main finding in this study concerned user habits. This study found that what dominated the results were how the products was used by consumer and how consumers contributed to the impact, which accounted for about 70% of the overall impact of the products. That came from how consumers use them, what machines they're using, what program settings they're using, all that stuff. Just going to leave that here, but if you're thinking about packaging for especially liquid detergents, there's this to consider. A 2020 study from Canada, I know we're a little bit more up to date now, compared 3 different types of packaging for liquid detergent. One being a sturdy plastic pourable bottle, one being pods in a plastic bottle, and the last one being pods in a flexible pouch. And this cradle to grave LCA included material production, intermediate processes, transportation, and end-of-life phases for each packaging system. The results showed that the conventional pourable bottle made of high-density HDPE had less environmental impact than the other 2 packaging systems in all impact categories, except ecotoxicity due to the higher amount of packaging material required to produce the pods. And the PET container with pods impacted the environment in all categories more than the multi-layered flexible pouch containing pods. That's something to consider if you're going for liquid detergents. So, the main point of the video, what about laundry sheets? Laundry sheets is a fairly new invention. It was first patented in North America by Dissolve Group in 2010. And Dissolve Group, or Dissolve Inside, are the owners of True Earth, which then makes True Earth laundry sheets the original laundry sheets. And for full transparency, I used to work with True Earth years ago, but I am under no obligation to say anything about their brand in either direction, so that's my disclaimer. Anyway, moving on. Laundry sheets are in general advertised as a sustainable alternative to conventional detergents. It's marketed as a better option than both liquid detergents and powders. And the dosage is controlled, so you don't overuse or waste product. It's minimally packaged and completely plastic free. Right? Well, laundry sheets, and this is true for every type of laundry sheet, contain something called polyvinyl alcohol, or PVA. And this has caused some consumers to be quite cautious when they're making the switch. So let's take a look at how sustainable this really is. Polyvinyl alcohol, or PVA, is a water-soluble polymer, and it has various applications from glue and medical appliances to, laundry pods and sheets. PVA has increased in usage during the last couple of years because of its ability to dissolve completely in water, which makes it a super convenient ingredient to use. PVA is approved safe by the FDA for food packaging, but it also has biochemical and pharmaceutical applications as well. And I'm going to get a little bit technical now, sorry about that, but I've seen a lot of misinterpretations and just misunderstandings about what this really is. So let's just really briefly go over that. When we hear poly, like in polyvinyl alcohol, we often think of the poly like in polyester or polyethylene. And that's because they come from the same family. They are polymers and they are types of plastic. Plastic being this big umbrella term that we use to describe products and materials and ingredients with these applications and with these abilities. Poly, as in polymer, polyester, polyethylene, and polyvinyl alcohol, among many others, means simply many-sided, and that's because they look like this. It's the prefix that we use to describe materials and ingredients within this family. It doesn't inherently or necessarily mean that they're unsustainable or polluting or dangerous. It simply just describes what they look like. But as I said, plastic is a huge umbrella term, and while PVA is technically a type of plastic, that doesn't mean that it reacts in the same way as polyester or PET water bottles. It really does not. I do reckon that when we hear polymer, we don't necessarily instantly think biodegradable. However, everything is technically biodegradable. It just depends on how long we expect it to wait. A plastic bag can technically biodegrade, but it takes hundreds, if not thousands of years. And before we can even get to something that kind of resembles biodegradability, this plastic bag is going to just degrade into smaller bits of plastic, into microplastic, and even into nanoplastic before we get to that point. And you know, microplastic has been found in human bodies all over the world on every single continent. It has been found in our feces and it's been found in fetuses. It's been found everywhere. It's actually disturbing. I also have a video about microplastics specifically, so if you want to know more about that, I'll leave that down below. But it's pretty safe to say that plastic doesn't break down in the same way that organic waste breaks down. I think it's really important to remember that what words are used to describe a product, especially so by the company producing the product, is so incredibly essential. They are incredibly aware of what words they're using and what associations consumers have with those words that they're using. It's important to remember that water-soluble and biodegradable is not the same thing. However, PVA can technically break down under the right conditions. There are approximately 55 microorganisms that can break down PVA into carbon dioxide and water, leaving no traces behind under those conditions. And this isn't exactly a new invention. We've been using microorganisms to help bioplastic and other types of materials break down a lot faster for a long time. The gist is here that whether or not PVA is able to break down and not be released into the environment is not up to the product or the company. It's completely up to the environment the PVA ends up in and whether or not these microorganisms are present there. A 2021 study found that while it's likely that water-soluble ingredients like polyvinyl alcohol may persist in the environment, the study found little to no traces of actual PVA. As such, the PVA didn't leave behind any micro or nano-sized plastic particles. But bear in mind that this study shows the potential biodegradability of PVA and doesn't necessarily represent what actually happens in real life. Because the same thing might not actually happen when consumers use the product. Is there any concrete evidence or data showing what actually happens to PVA once consumers use it? I'm so happy that you asked. A study published in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health shows that in the US, around 75% of PVA end up untreated in the environment. Most likely because when we use water in our households, it's sent to a wastewater management facility where it's cleaned and redistributed, etc. And the PVA in laundry sheets is dependent upon those microorganisms to be present in the management facility. However, these facilities are meant to deal with human waste, not PVA directly. PVA doesn't exclusively come from laundry sheets, and this study targets PVA overall, where it's an ingredient in laundry sheets, but also in many other types of products. So Bear that in mind. This is not only laundry sheets. One of the more frequent household applications of PVA is the liquid detergent pods, like Tide pods. This means that in the US, more than 8,000 tons of PVA solvents end up in the environment every year. And it's unknown what happens to the PVA in areas where it doesn't break down. For instance, in colder areas where the population of microorganisms and bacteria is simply just lower. One of the researchers from that study said this: a lot of companies are claiming that PVA is biodegradable. It's not fully degrading. And there really isn't any literature or research on PVA as a pollutant. We know it's out there, but we don't know whether it's causing harm. We know it can sequester heavy metals and leach into groundwater. It can also alter gas exchanges, which can affect aquatic ecosystems. It's just that this researchers' experience and data tells a very different story than what any of these laundry sheet companies are saying on their websites. They say, no, it's not a plastic, or perhaps sometimes, yeah, it kind of is a plastic, but it is fully biodegradable, so we're in the clear. And also, other companies are doing much worse things than we are. But this study doesn't mean that this study is wrong. And it also doesn't mean that companies are lying when they say that their product is biodegradable. They still are, we just need to remember to read the fine print, the terms and conditions, what you will. Namely stating that it's only biodegradable under certain conditions. And it doesn't really explain much further what happens when those conditions are left unmet. Companies can legally claim that their product is biodegradable if it can biodegrade. Not if it will, but if it has the potential to. Moving on to focus a little bit more on the companies that are selling these products. Emma Dendler from The Simple Environmentalist simply did just God's work. God's work, I tell you. She reached out to the companies that are selling laundry sheets and asked them about PVA. She writes that while some of the brands were open to a conversation, others dodged her questions completely. That was the case when she asked True Earth, the original laundry sheets, about their use of PVA. It seems like a lot of these companies don't want to talk about PVA at all, or it seems like these companies don't actually know a whole lot about it. And I'm no expert, but I'm able to spot bullshit when I see it. I looked on the websites for several shops and companies that are selling laundry sheets, and yeah, they all had some version of this statement on their website. Yeah, we use PVA, and yes, it's technically a plastic, but this can completely biodegrade. And also, have you seen what these other companies are doing? That's so much worse than what we're doing. Anyway, buy our product, please and thank you, and stop asking questions. I don't know, but shouldn't a company that's producing a product be able to actually expand on and explain the impact of the ingredients? And you could argue that it's unfair to look with such scrutiny onto these companies that are simply trying to do something that's better than the original products or the conventional products. However, I would like to say that on this platform, we hold all companies to the same standards. So I also absolutely bash the living hell out of companies that are absolutely not sustainable and not even trying to be. But I think it's important that we are also able to criticize the companies that are trying to do better so that they can actually, in fact, do better in the future. Also, a lot of these companies that are trying to do better are actually just making a product that's just visibly different from products that already exist, while it might sometimes turn out that they don't have a significantly lower impact than the conventional products. They're just there to make money on consumers' consciousness and wish to be sustainable. So that's why we're here. That's what we're doing this. Okay, I'm never gonna get sponsorships ever again, but I digress. Anyway, I've yet to see companies that can actually thoroughly explain under what conditions PVA can break down and simply just explain the fact that it's under certain conditions. That type of conversation has been left out of their pages altogether, and it seems like some companies even refuse to call it a plastic, I guess for marketing purposes. If you're trying to sell a plastic-free product, it also really doesn't make sense to admit that you're actually using plastic. But perhaps that means that plastic-free isn't necessarily the biggest selling point, or the most effective, or the most accurate. But one question that's left unanswered is, what is then the most sustainable option? And I think if we should take anything from the very first study that I mentioned, it's that consumer habits, what we do, how we use the products, and not necessarily so much so what the product is, has a much higher impact. How we use the products, what machine settings we're using, and all the stuff that comes with our laundry routines that has nothing to do with where we buy our products accounts for 70% of the products and our laundry's overall impact. So that means that there isn't one magical product that can make your whole laundry routine carbon neutral. But honestly, I think that's a good thing. What is happening? This means that there are many small things that we can do, things we can change and tweak and improve on, That isn't just buying one product. That's pretty amazing, and it means more people can actually join in. Because let's face it, a lot of these products that are advertised and marketed as sustainable aren't necessarily super easily accessible, and also sometimes a little bit expensive. This means that even if you cannot afford laundry sheets, you can still do so much for the environment every time you do your laundry. And here are a couple of suggestions. Washing in cold water reduces the impact by 10% according to Colorado State University. Moreover, more modern detergents are even designed to be just as effective in cold water as in warm water. So a lot of clothes becomes just as clean when you wash them in cold water. Air drying your laundry rather than using a tumble dryer reduces the impact by up to 67%. And tumble drying clothes can account for up to 75% of the laundry's total carbon footprint. And of course you can air dry your clothes even if you don't have a garden or yard. I just have my bathroom. I have a machine that's a combination of a washer and a dryer, and I have never used the dryer setting, ever. Moreover, only wash full loads. You can also turn your clothes inside out. This protects the garment. Make sure that you have your clothes in mint condition for as long as possible. It also protects your clothes from snagging on small details and whatnot during the wash. And it actually also protects the color of your clothes. Some clothes do not need washing after one wear. Socks and underwear definitely needs frequent washing, but shirts, trousers, dresses, etc. can often just be aired out overnight and feel fresh the next day. Are these laundry sheets a one-way ticket to a sustainable laundry routine? No. While I've used laundry sheets for a long time, last time I ran out, I didn't restock. Instead, I've opted for a powder detergent in a cardboard box. It's cheaper, it's more easily accessible, and it's also plastic-free and more sustainable. And the main reason why I haven't restocked on the laundry sheets is, first of all, because I cannot be guaranteed that the PVA will break down where I live. I simply do not know enough about this in order to make sure that this doesn't happen. And I don't feel comfortable that the companies know enough either. I have yet to see any of these companies making these sheets talk about this or explain this in a trustworthy way. It feels like they either don't know enough about PVA or they simply prefer to not talk about it. That's not gonna slide with me. We're not letting that stuff slide. So I'm hesitant to restock them for now. But I am going to keep myself updated on what these companies are doing and if any advancements are being made in the future. I hope that you like this video. Let me know down below in the comments what you use to do your laundry, and I will see you guys next time. Take really good care of yourselves. Until then, bye. Thank you so much for watching this video, and also a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys help me create green, zero-waste content, and I love you guys. You can find the links to my social media accounts down below and the link to my Patreon on this screen. Bye!